Okay, welcome. Let's do this. Today's an interesting stream. If you've been following me, you've been seeing me crush. Just kidding. But you've been seeing me do a lot of things that I'm used to. So like building web scrapers, doing this fine tuning stuff, building front ends and back ends, things like that. Today I'm gonna make something that I really learned about yesterday. I mean, I think I had like a general idea this was happening, but I've mostly just been so in my little transformer fine tuning silo that so there's this thing. There are these AI agents, and I messed around with LangChain a little bit, but I haven't messed around at all with Auto GPT, mostly because I'm terrified of it. So I'm just like, well, I don't want to know about any of that. That sounds scary. That makes me that makes me afraid. Hold on a second. Let me so Auto GPT, what it really is, in this by the end of this video, this is just the intro. But in this video, I hopefully will one fully understand how to do this, and two, figure out how to effectively do this at a very small task at creating React apps and resolving what npm packages we need to use in order to generate our React code, which is complicated. It's very complicated how that'll work. We may have to also make sure we're using popular packages. That's the whole thing. Well, we'll get into the nitty gritty, but there's a couple packages I want to cover. I want to cover how they work. So I was looking at the source code here so I could sort of actually understand how this works. So I'm going to be deriving a lot of ideas from AutoGPT and this GPT engineer, and I'm going to try to figure out fully how this works and get something going here real quick. I'm not being disrespectful. Gotta open up the chat here just in case. But so really what we're doing is we're going to be making an application. Let's go here. We're going to be mostly in Colab today. Let's call this our 10x. How many things called 10x am I going to have? I'm gonna have like a fleet of 10x tools. Let's call this our 10x React engineer. And I want to get something actually working in the end. I don't want this to just be like, I hope this works. No, I want to actually be proud of this in the end. I want to have something that I'm actually proud of. I tested some things on this, and I think we can build something that can generate React code bases with this 70 billion chat fine-tuned model. It's so funny. I tried the chat model, and I asked it a question first, and it was like, sorry, we can't. It's making a calendar app is. I was like asked like, can I generate like an entry point file for a React calendar app? And they're like, that's a sensitive subject. Swear to God. Really, the way this works is you have an agent. Let me get one of these visuals, guys. Because I want to sort of explain because I'm learning too. I mean, I didn't know about these things until like yesterday, and I'm gonna build one. Am I an idiot? So I'm doing it in front of people. What? Okay. So the LLM is acting as the agent. That's sort of how I can understand these things today. And the main point of this is the orchestrator. The LLM, the orchestrator, and your actions, the things to do, which are typically hitting an API or a vector database, whatever. Really, what these autonomous agents are doing are acting as the orchestrators to execute the agent, which is the LLM, and to prompt it with things to get your downstream tasks done. So you give it an overarching goal that you would have to just keep prompting ChatGPT for, and this figures out what you have to prompt next. Because what if you have like 100 different prompts you have to make, right? So this is a way of getting that 100 prompt thinking done in one program. It's coding. It's automation. It's what we do. Um, and and part of, and also the API. So that's one part of it. Is it auto GPT? Not, this is not a LangChain concept, but auto GPT is this concept where to figure out what to do next and to get that downstream task done. Let's say you ask ChatGPT to generate you some. I saw an example of this on a video where someone was like, okay, this is a very simple application where it's like you want to have 3 AI models, 1 data set, you want to evaluate each and compare them. What is that? That's like 3 different scripts for the AI models or for the ML models, and then you have 1 script to evaluate, then you have a script. It's like a lot of these things depend on each other, and the way you would be thinking is you would first generate your main file, your entry point file, and then you would be, what are the dependencies I need to resolve, and then you'd think, and then you'd make a plan of, okay, I need to go get this, I need to get this, I need to generate this, and then you'd make another ChatGPT, assuming you don't know how to code and you're like you're a little beta coder, and you use ChatGPT. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just messing around when I say that. Psych. But for real, like, this is assuming you're using ChatGPT. That's a lot of work to do that reasoning and thinking and making that, well, the reasoning happening in your head, making that through line to actually get a finished product in the end. So AutoGPT, which is this awesome little project here, has 146,000 stars. And I feel like I was looking through the code and I'm like, does this work? We'll see. We'll see how we're using a lot of different projects and we're trying to synthesize something here that's cool, that's fresh, that's nice. Here's what we're doing. So actually, we still need to talk about a lot of concepts. I'm going to talk about some concepts for a little bit, and then we're going to get into the coding, and we're just going to code it. So he has this very complicated, we're going to change this prompt, but this is a prompt that's really just saying, start with the entry point file and keep generating code after the entry point. I think what we want to do is actually, we want to have a loop, kind of like an AutoGPT, and we want to resolve each required dependency based on that loop. That's what I think we actually need if we're going to do this really well. We'll see. I think this might be fine, but I also think we don't want to do this. I think we don't. Yeah, I don't think Llama is powerful enough to do this. I think we're going to need to. I think we're going to have to sort of change this a little bit, where we're not so much saying just keep generating the first, start with the entry point file and generate the next files. We're going to say start with the entry point file and then essentially tell us all the dependencies in a structured way, and then we'll loop through those dependencies, and then we'll create files. We'll generate the files for each of those. Well, actually, there's a good, this is the loop right here. The graph, we'll get into the graph. So the way the loop works is you give it a goal, it creates a plan, it criticizes the plan to figure out whether or not the task it needs to get done is good or not. And then it acts. That's where we have what are the tools I need to use? Do I need to use an API to act? Do I need to use an LLM to act? Do I need, yada, yada. And then it reads feedback. I'm pretty sure that's the reasoning part. And then let me just double check. Oh, okay. AutoGPT analyzes feedback generated from its actions, learning from previous performance to improve outcomes. Pretty sure reasoning happens then. Might be wrong. But also, I think the reasoning is more debugging and to inform the future prompts of why it did what it did. But anyway, after that, so after it does this stuff, it continues the plan. We're using the chat model because the chat models are better at reasoning. I wouldn't ask it non-coding related questions if you catch my drift, but we'll actually fine tune a proper chat model in one of these. Just I'll show you how to do that. Yeah, we're going to be using this system message. This is like the system prompt that Llama is trained on. So this is where we're telling the AI what to do, and then this is the instruction prompt here. And I modify this a tiny bit, but this is mostly the GPT engineer thing. So let's just hold on. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Look at that. Oh, look at that. So I asked it to write, and this is the 13 billion parameter model. I asked it to it's doing it. It's doing it. I don't know if you're. I only gave it 1,000 tokens, so you see how it's like generating. Oh, you know what? It didn't generate the entry point first. Oh wait, hold on a second. It started right here. It said, "Here's a list of the core classes." That's not what I want you to do. That's not what I want you to do. I want to start at the entry point file. Let's actually do this again, and let's do like 10,000. Uh-oh, GPU RAM. It's at 39 billion. You know what? We're gonna have to. Oh, it went down. All right, so this rendered a lot of stuff. Okay, it started. So this time it actually started with the index, and then it. Oh wow, nice. This is like so cool. And then it did the calendar, and then it did the cool. This is actually very cool. So you know what we can do? We can just first let's start by doing this. Break. Oh wait, it stopped. No, it didn't stop. It didn't stop. We got to figure out how to parse this text, and then we actually get the nice, nice. Wow, Llama's really powerful. That's crazy. Anyway, so how our 10x React engineer will code, because it just did it, by the way. I mean, it did like a very basic app, but there's some features I want to add onto this. One, we have to teach it to parse this, right? So it seems like this GPT engineer, this is really, we're just building off of this guy's prompt, because his prompt here is like, it's really good. And LangChain has some parsers to grab JSON blocks, so you can still decode, I guess. Oh, cool. Yeah, I think that's fine. That things like that are pretty easy to write. It's also, it'll be good to show how to write stuff like that on the stream. Okay. So our 10x engineer will code. We need to ask the user what. So here are the things we need to ask the user. We need to ask the user, because this is cool that we can generate this in the end, but we need to ask the user some stuff. And I think per file, we want to ask the user some things. Design considerations. So like, what is the design? We'll just start with that's the question. What is the design? That's going to be hard. What is the design library? Do you have an API? And if they have an API, or actually, no, we don't have to ask them that. We can figure out whether they need an API. So like, that's something we're going to have to figure out. So what is the design library? So we need to figure out if we need to build the backend. And for the backend, we'll just do an Express app. So load an Express app in a single file. So we'll just keep it very simple. I don't want to like make the backend complicated. So So really, once we tell our 10x React engineer, so really it's like we're the business, and we're telling an engineer how to work here. So think logically how that would happen. Design library, I mean like Bootstrap. I mean the component library. Yeah. I wonder if there's a way to, I'm just trying to think, can we do anything stylistically here? I think the problem with this is great, but part of the problems with this is I want to be able to, well, one, we have to like hook everything together. You know, we have to put all this in a repository and everything. But the one thing we need to do is we need to figure out how to get each of these components and change it and modify it based on a greater context. And that context we need to figure out here. So actually, let me change this. Let me change this prompt here, because I think this isn't the prompt that we want. But really, I thought at first I was like, hey, we could just do this. No, we do need to have an orchestra. We need to have the agent executor, which is this part, and this needs to, let's go down. They have good graphs here. Visual learner. So this part needs to, okay, so this is what the orchestrator does. It takes the input from the user, pass it to the agent, which we're doing with the right inputs, and then pass memory, which is why I'm thinking we should do this iteratively, but I think that's probably fine. You know what we can do is we could just do this same request, but keep modifying it based on what we find out. But we get the output from it, which indicates the tools to use with the inputs. So we need to figure out how to get some extra output from this. Calling the required tool or API with the input, getting the response and return to the model, taking the natural language response from the model based on the tool output, presenting to the user. All right. So, and also the state machine. State machine is really what is this agent doing at a given time, right? First, let's make a generate function, just so I don't forget. We need to, so I'm going to start with the entry point. So first, they're going to ask a greater goal. And then we're going to have to figure out, we're going to break the goal down into tasks like AutoGPT. And then we're going to have to first we're going to have to actually, I think, summarize the goal and then ask a prompt to generate that like simple scaffolded app. And then we'll just keep reiterating on that scaffolded app. I think that's how it should work. Cool. So, but first, let's move, just so I don't forget, let's move this. Well, we don't have to cut it, but we can move this into here. We'll have user input. I think this is how these work. Then the right coder prompt is global. It's fine. And then we'll, oh yeah, we don't want to, so that's the instructions for code. Let's do this. So we're gonna have to, so this isn't even user input. It's just code prompt, because we're gonna have to, my thought is first generate tasks, or first we just generate a summary of what their ask is to scaffold the project. By the way, I'm just sort of creatively thinking through this. I know that what we're doing is probably solved in GPT, in AutoGPT. Anyway, so we want to scaffold first. So let's actually, we're thinking of our ideal, or not ideology, philosophy as we're going. Because I think we want to scaffold first and then design. I think. And then add functionality. And then add API functionality. We'll see. We'll see. Then design. So really what I mean is that first prompt we had was great. It was because our ask was super simple. So we need to simplify it by saying, and we'll have this code prompt be like the same thing we had before, which is like for a calendar app. Like it'll just be for a, and then we'll insert the summary. So we'll actually have to make another system prompt. And this will be for summarize ask prompt. And then this will be, you will get instructions for code to write. You will write. We don't have to say this. We'll say, you are a intelligent AI agent that understands the root of the user's problems. I have no idea how to do this, but okay. The user will give an instruction for what code it wants to for what code project it wants to build. They want to build. Our user is non. I can't even say. Let's see. So user will give an instruction. Let's make this another line. So we're gonna have to have a prompt to summarize their ask so we can scaffold the user's ask so we can scaffold this. The user will give an instruction for what code project they want to build. After this, using this instruction, you will, how do they ask it? Dang, he's like talking to them like it's his hoe. He's like, you will do this. Lang is the markup code block language. You will output. Think step by step and reason. Okay, I see what you're saying. You will summarize what the code project is in a simple, in a short sentence. And then I'll say, structure your summarization like this. Summarization, colon, the summary. Enter the summary here. Okay. All right, so just to see how this works, let's print the result. Let's print task formulation, and then we're going to pass in the initial ask to this. And we may just have like, oh wait. So we can actually just use the dev loop. We'll pass in the initial ask to the dev loop. and we'll run. After we get this, we can run the dev loop. And I actually want to use the scaffolding. We don't need to use memory. We'll just use, we'll say scaffolding, and then the user ask. We don't have to say initial. React output, yay! Yay! What the? Yo, this is crazy. Does this work? And it's messed up. Yeah, we gotta add something that lints, that fixes the JSON. So public's capitalized, which is very weird. So this pack, nice, it did it. I don't know why it didn't do it for these dependencies, but it did it for these. Nice. Version star, what the fuck? That's not what I meant. So we have this script to modify. So first we ask it to generate our code base, which you just did. It's scaffolded the code base, and it resolves some dependencies to update our package JSON. Now we're gonna look at each file. We're gonna send a modification request if we want to, so that we can update each file. I'm gonna say, I want the components to be styled. It's actually, man, once, because I'm gonna load this up with the 70 one, the 70 billion one. All right, so the public, this is how project should look. You got the index in the public, you got the app, you got the, that's broken. That's stuff like that's not that big of a deal though. Oh, also, it's not getting it. It's getting it from this like timeline thing, and not this file that it generated. But whatever. That's beggars can't be choosers here. See, this the root path is not. This part's not good, and this is not good. Well, I gotta figure out how to make that good. But let me just see if with those changes, the dependencies were resolved. It didn't build. Oh, because Babel core wasn't. It resolved some packages, but not all of them. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I think there is a time when you have to say you did a lot. I was about to say enough, and then my competitive soul was like a lot. It's never enough. What's this error? Strict. Okay. A lot of this stuff actually is it's interesting. A lot of this stuff is in okay, that's fine. That's like a lot of this stuff is very like configuration oriented. It has a code base. It's generating code bases. Seems good. Honestly, it is pretty good. Like it's actually pretty cool. Let me save this. I'm gonna offline. I'm gonna get this on GitHub so everyone can have it. Thanks for joining. It was fun. Watch us afterwards. If you're still watching, you're insane. Just kidding. Join the Discord. Like, subscribe. I will never stop doing this, so might as well just subscribe, right?